I do like how Project Hail Mary takes the science that most people should have remembered from middle school and reacquaints them with it. Like, oh, by the way, this is how the world around you operates. You should probably pay attention. People should have remembered from middle school.
Okay. Good. Yeah. One way you can tell that my brain was not necessarily operating at full efficiency is that while I was camped out in the living room while my upstairs computer wasn't working, I didn't really think through engaging the virtual background, which I could have all along. And I didn't think about it. You know, Tananari didn't mention it to me, but that's my responsibility, not hers. So it's like, yeah, I'm about 95% of the way back. I'm not completely there yet, but I'm getting there. And 95% is not bad. All right.
Especially after a low oxygen event.
Yeah, yeah. But it's my responsibility to cope, not the world's responsibility to, bend for me, slow down for me, make allowances for me. That's not the way the world is. It's the way society can be if we are compassionate enough to each other. But that's not just the world. Um, and I don't hold it against the world. Some people kind of assume that the world should be kind to them in that way. If I had made that assumption, I would have to think a lot less of human beings. But I love human beings, so my attitude is that the world has a certain degree of we're going to take care of our own and screw y'all. Anyway, so I am getting ready to start recording in just a moment. There I go. And also, I need to let people know that my good lady wife won't be joining us today. She is on her way to UCLA to take care of an event there, and she'll be back later on this evening. And I miss her terribly, but this is going to be an interesting show. There's something very specific I wanted to talk about, and I hope it's going to be useful to you. So, allow me to just kind of say, welcome to the Life Writing Podcast, where married authors and screenwriters, Stephen Barnes and Tanana Reeve Do, talk about writing during stressful times, breaking into Hollywood, and balancing life. Every episode, we'll share more tips on how to build a better life while you create your dream projects, even if it's only at the rate of one sentence a day. Life writing is the application of the tools of writing to life and the tools of life to your writing. So, I don't have the soundboard that my good lady wife operates. So let's unmute yourselves and applaud each other. Just kind of as happy we
Hi,
survived another
everybody.
week. We're back together, which I think is a
Everybody.
wonderful thing. That's great. That's great. So I kind of want to jump into the week because there have been very, very specific highs and lows, things that I had to deal with that were stressful. And the way I dealt with them hopefully will be useful for you guys in terms of understanding what it is that we're up to. What we're up to is exploring the concepts that exist within the life writing system, which is treating your life as if it's a heroic adventure that you're writing. Hopefully, not a horror story. Um, you know, but if it is, then you're still the hero of your story. So, what is that? What is it that writers are doing in stories? Generally speaking, a writer will design a story so that the stresses of the story force the character to learn something they wouldn't have learned otherwise. Often forces them to greater levels of intelligence, problem solving, or courage, honesty than they've had previously. So matching the event to the character is something that writers have to do very carefully. Now, how does this relate to human life? Well, I'm Stephen Barnes. I'm the creator of the system, so I have some ideas about what that is. Uh, the Stoics, and I got into Stoicism uh, primarily, and I've gotten into it deeply over the last year, I guess, because my son came to me and he said that he himself was studying Stoicism. And so, in order to be able to communicate with my son, not because I think it's better than Buddhism or Taoism or some of the other things that I've had a chance to study, but because I wanted a specific vocabulary to communicate to a member of my family who I love more than my own life. And so going deep, and there's great stuff. It's a wonderful discipline. But one of the things that is said is that the obstacle in your path becomes your path. That, in other words, you are if you once you set a goal, you are presented with obstacles that the dealing with these obstacles develops the specific strength you need to reach your goal. I mean, it's kind of logical. If it's in the way, this is what you have to deal with. It's much the same way that if you wanted to become stronger, a bodybuilder, what is in your way are the weights in the gym. Okay, that you have to be able to move those weights to develop the muscle to enable you to perform, whether it's on a stage or in a competition. In the martial arts, the higher belts that you have to fight your way through are the exact tools that you need in order to become strong. Steel sharpens steel. So life does that the same way. The bigger your goals, the more you're going to have to step out of who you were. Unless you are already the person who could do those things, and your goals should always be designed to be kind of transformative. The idea that if I could accomplish this goal, the goal isn't big enough. That the goal should scare you a little bit. The one that sets the goal is not the same as the person who can achieve the goal, if that makes sense. That you choose your goals specifically to help you become stronger. Because if you achieve your goals, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be a stronger person than you were beforehand. So you can either choose to own that and accept that, or you can choose to be at the effect of your life. And a lot of the people who I talk to are interested in writing. So the process of writing involves learning intellectual tools, but also emotional tools, getting yourself to be able to do the work every day, dealing with disappointment, getting over fear, being able to understand what writer's block is and how to negotiate it. Those are the things that all the writers who you admire, who created the kinds of things that you want, they all had to solve those things, or their writing and career grinds to a halt. And we have seen that too. People who were able to write at one point and unable to write at another, which is different from writing at one point and they're not as good at another point. I mean, people get better and they also decline. The same thing that is true in athletics is true in the realm of the mind, because the brain is an organ to a degree, and age does affect it. So that can be difficult for writers to face, that the the skills that came effortlessly to them at one time become more and more difficult to access at another. And I've seen that happen a lot of times, and it can be heartbreaking if they can't be philosophical about it. So being able to look at that and to be able to give thanks for having had that ability at one time or having that ability now, um, is the doorway to the faith that maybe you can access it again. How did I do that before? Maybe it was effortless before, and now you have to think about it a little harder. That's very similar to a boxer who, finds that training camp is effortless at one point, and they go right through their opponents, and at another point, they start losing their motivation, which is easy to happen when you get rich or once you are older and it no longer feels good to do these things. But if you're still going to be a boxer, you have to do those things, and you might have to do more of them to be able to step in the ring and compete. The same thing is true with an intellectual skill or an emotional skill. There are points when relationships are easy, but if you want to have a full experience of love, you have to be capable of dealing with the times when the relationship is hard, when you're going to have to struggle. And if you will talk to anyone who has been in a relationship long enough to have grandchildren and is still in love with their partner, those two things, in love with their partner and they've been married long enough to have grandchildren, 20 years, let's say, they will tell you the truth. That it isn't just about, hey, we're in love and every day is, skipping down the steps. No, sometimes it's just hard, grinding work. For instance, to be totally honest with you, since Tananari isn't on here today, I can say that there are times when I'm very frustrated by her, but I remember something. What I remember is she's the best I can do. If I could have done better, I would have. That's just the honest truth. And if she's the best I can do, and I know that she loves me and she's doing her best, then I have to simply deal with it. This woman I love is doing the best she can do. And I bet and I know for a fact that I am not easy to live with. That I in no way am saying that I have fewer flaws than she has. So we're two human beings who made an adult decision to take this life path together. And one of the things that people will tell you if they've been married long enough to have grandchildren is it's not all fun and games. It just isn't. Okay? They call it a honeymoon because for the first month, sex is great enough that you completely forget any difficulties you have. After you kind of get used to that, then the human stuff starts coming up. The rough edges come up. And if you're not mature about it, you will mistake the natural human rough edges for incompatibility. No, the writing is not always easy. Life is not always easy. The path that I have chosen is not easy. So it is inevitable that I'm going to run into things where I wake up in the morning with a sick feeling in my stomach. And that happened to me twice this week, or on two different subjects, one positive and one negative. And I used the exact same tools for both. So I thought to myself, it was the same thing with when I was in the hospital, that this is costing me energy and aliveness and money and time. How can I make this pay off? How can I get a value from this that is equivalent to what I'm paying? And that is where the Warrior Walk came from. The book that we sell and offer here, that is at www.warrior-walk.com, and it is being constantly updated, and it is my current clearest statement on the body-mind connection and what I found out about it by dying, in essence. Um, and those of you who want a copy and cannot afford it, get in touch with me. I will send you one for free. I will send anybody who is on this call who spends this time with me a copy for free if you can't afford it. So we need this in order for us to be able to get more deeply into this question, and we can investigate. Is it true? Is this an effective way of looking at things? Is it kind? Does it not generate? If it generates more pain than joy, then I have not done my job properly. And if it is not useful for the meaning of life, which is to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service, if it's not useful for that, then it's not honoring the three gates, and I need to completely rethink what it is that I'm doing. And only if you tell me how you are receiving it, how it's hitting you, do I know whether those things are valid. So just remember that. Anybody who knows what that website is, please put it in chat. I'm kind of on a roll. I don't want to break it right now. But www.warrior-walk.com. All right. So what were the two things that happened this week? Well, one of them was the BAFTA situation. And the other was having the most important business meeting, arguably, one of those business meetings which before you walk in the door, if this works out, if this is positive, this could move my life to a completely new level. Completely new level. That it's that important. And that is the moment when all the pretender voices and the imposter syndrome and stuff like that comes in. Can I do this? Is it right for me to do this? Am I worthy of this? What happens if I do this? All of that stuff is there. About this business meeting with an unnamed company. Let's just say that there is an unnamed a company who I will not name that whose name would be known to you, would be recognizable to you instantly if I were to say it, with whom we've had connections, a relationship that we have nurtured and valued greatly over the last years, uh, who is was willing to look at the movie that we made of the keeper and ask themselves, are they in alignment with this? Is this what it is that they want to do? Is this the way they want to move forward in life? Because you sell something to somebody not based on how much you need it. Nobody buys a vacuum cleaner from you because they feel sorry for you unless they're like just throwing their money away. They buy the vacuum cleaner because you have communicated to them the values to their own house. You know, that you don't sell vacuum cleaners, you sell clean houses, healthy children, and happy husbands. That's the thing that is said to the salesman. So I can be in love with the keeper, but I have to find someone who feels that if they invest their time, energy, and resources with us, that this is helping to further their dream, not just make my dreams come true. And to the degree that I can convince them that that is true, and we have a sale. To the degree that that is true, to the degree that I have been in integrity with myself, that I'm not faking it, I'm not trying to get something from them that I don't deserve to get, that is the potential for a happy marriage. And business relationships, especially in Hollywood, have a lot of similarities to romantic relationships, which is one of the reasons why there's so much fooling around in connection with movies, because everybody's their hearts are open and their minds are open, and hey, this is wonderful, and hey, you're wonderful too, and hey, you think I'm wonderful too. You know, why don't we do something with all this wonderfulness? So let's just say that if this movie happens and I'm away from home doing this, I want my wife there with me so that I'm not having to constantly remember, no, I'm not in love with this person. They're very attractive and they think I'm very attractive, but it's business. It ain't show friendship, it's show business. So a little nod to Jerry Maguire there. So I have two things. One is the fear that when you set a goal, if you set it properly, if you achieve that goal, you become a different person. You're the person who can do that thing. See, once again, you set the goals so that it's not just in alignment with your values, but if you do it, it's going to force you to grow up, to expand, to become a deeper, truer version of who you are. If I say, why am I struggling to become a black belt? Why am I struggling? Because I remember I was dealing with so much fear that I was terrified by sparring because of some unresolved bullying issues that I had. And one day, I was afraid to go into a martial arts school that I belonged to pick up a jacket that I had left there because I was afraid somebody would ask me to spar with them and that I would be ashamed. And I was driving down the street thinking about this with the tears streaming down my face, saying, God, will you either just let me do this art or let me walk away from it? I couldn't do either one. I felt like I was roadkill. Why couldn't I quit? I couldn't quit because I knew on some level, if I did not contextualize my resistance, if I didn't, the obstacle in the way becomes the way. The thing that was stopping me was the very thing that made this thing of value. I had to learn what was wrong with me. I had to learn what was going on. And in order to do that, I had to find a context in which it was safe to explore that. And that was martial arts. I was never hurt there. I was good at sparring. I took second place in the National Korean Karate Championships in 1972. What happened to me was an emotional thing, not a reduction in my capacity. So what was wrong with this meeting was that it represented everything that I've been working for. It represented everything that Tananarive and I have been working for. The BAFTA thing, on the other hand, represented the child part of me feeling utterly betrayed and in danger in the world because no one protected that child part of me or the thousands of other children that I was identifying with from language that reflects 400 years of violence. That you can ask somebody, well, the speaker could not help themselves. I am willing to deal with that as long as we admit that he's ill. Okay. But in that case, where were the people to protect him from himself? And where were the people to protect the children of my tribe from him blurting out this, that, the other, that he could not help? And I've had a lot of feelings about that. And both these things, I would wake up in the morning feeling sick to my stomach. Can I do this thing that is in my heart? Literally my last remaining lifetime goal from childhood, or from adolescence really. I got all my childhood dreams, but I started dreaming when I was about 15 or 16 of having a theatrical motion picture. So I still carry that with me. The other is the dream that I can love everyone and they will love me. That I can care for everyone and their hearts will be similarly open to me. And as of current events, including the previous election, I can no longer be quite that open. But I don't want to let the outside world change who I am. So looking at the magic formula, let me look at the magic formula and the basic tools which I had to apply, and I had to apply every day. And I would write things down, and I would ask questions of an AI that I've trained to reflect my values back to me. Very, very useful for that. And I would talk with Tananarive, and I would talk with friends. Am I crazy about this? What is true here? Well, what is true in terms of the particular position, the job, the movie company, is that I am completely committed to getting this made. That we have done our work. That we can successfully demonstrate our skills. That Tananarive's star is on the rise in just a magnificent way. That I am hyper competent at certain areas of what it is that I'm doing. I'm sure there are other areas where I know that there are other areas where I'm not as good as I could be, and there are undoubtedly other areas where I'm not even aware of what I don't know. I don't have the cocky energy that says I can do anything. But I do have cocky energy that says that Tananarive and I together are more than competent at this. Oh yeah, we are that bitch. I have that cocky energy there, okay? So as long as I support my wife completely and she supports me completely, I believe that we can do this and that it is a good thing. Is it kind? It's certainly kind to the child part of myself. It's kind to the child part of Tananarive. I'm going to be able to enlist my family and help further their goals. The work itself, I've watched many people watching it at this point, and they get it. They get the subtext. They can appreciate what it is that we did there. So my feeling is, yes, I can provide something that is of value to an audience that is in essence kind, that it deals with real concerns. But we're not asking them to take a slog through our pain. We're asking them, that we're willing to process our own pain to the point where it will dizzy them, but not hurt them. So yeah, it's kind. And is it useful? It's useful to my family. My God, that we'd be lifting ourselves to a completely new level in terms of our careers and our finances and so forth. So, and is it useful to this person that we're going to talk to? If they got it, if they saw the movie and they like the movie, then they have to know that if we are open to their notes, open to hearing what they have to say, to their leadership, that we could create something extraordinary. We could help them fulfill their own sense of mission. So it passes the gates. Now, what do I do? How do I present myself? In that meeting, if it was at 2 o'clock yesterday, it's 3 days out, what do I do? Well, It's the same thing that we're asking you guys to do. To every morning, 5 minutes every morning, 5 minutes every night, to focus. And what do I focus on? I'm going to take a breath here because I have to step back into the pain in order to show you how somebody was talking about their butterflies, when they are getting ready to perform. Um, and I said that the trick is not to get rid of your butterflies. The trick is to train your butterflies to fly in formation. And I said that, and I don't know where that came from, but I loved it. It's like, oh, okay, that works for me. Um, so every morning, the first thing I do when I wake up is to feel my breathing and be gratitude and feel gratitude for life. I am alive. I was so grateful for that. And there was a moment where it was all in the world that I wanted was to be able to take that next breath. Okay. Take the richest man in the world and stick his head in a bucket of water. He give up all his physical possessions. Let's see, I'm freezing there. Uh, I'm freezing? Is it okay? Can you guys still hear me? Raise your hands if you can hear me. Raise your hands if you can hear me. You cannot hear me. Move this to another room.
Pardon the commercial interruption. We are experiencing temporary technical difficulties. Sensei Stephen Barnes will be back on momentarily. I think I heard a smack in the background. I don't know what that's about. This is an unofficial interruption as we continue on with Fire Dance. So, everybody, let's dance. Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Let's dance under the moonlight. That's it for me.
You're muted, Steve.
Am I muted now? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, I was doing this in Tananari's office because Jason was still asleep. But I can hear him upstairs having a riotous time on his computer, so I don't have to worry about that. So my apologies. Uh, so as I was saying, the first thing I would do is connect to life and be grateful for life. The second thing I do is find my heartbeat. And there I would be grateful for love. And I have no problem with that. It's connect with, I think about Jason, I think about Tananarive, I think about Nikki. Somebody once, I was able to buy a day's time with a with a very close associate of the world's greatest life coach. And this person was able to discover that anytime I thought about my children, my energy automatically shifted to the positive. So it's like now I can punch that button whenever I want to. All I have to do is thinking about Nikki, boom. Think about Jason, boom. Think about Tananari, and my energy pumps. So then I could look at myself, the child inside me, little Stevie. Is little Stevie happy with me? Because if little Stevie is happy with me, that means I grew up to be the father that he desired to have. Simple as that. I am now that guy. Then I would move to my head center. So it's body, heart, and then mind. And there I think about magic. And in my head, I find the light behind my eyes. And I give gratitude for hope. I give gratitude for the possibility of success, for being able to take another day in which I can take a step towards my destiny. And I think through the magic formula. So the map was I had three people on my map. One was Larry Niven, one was Steve Muhammad. Neither of these are masters of film. So I thought to myself, well, who would be a good role model in terms of being able to make a film? And I thought Jordan Peele, because not only is he masterful, but we also know him. That we have met him. I've shaken hands with him. I've hugged him. We've talked about life. So I can model him fairly easily, and because he's done lots of interviews, I can look at the map of how did he get himself to do this? How does he write? How does he this? How does he that? Okay. The A in magic is action. Do I understand the action steps? Well, in terms of getting myself ready for this, my action step is every morning I do my ritual. Every evening I check and see about my day. And then during the day, since I've defined the most important things I have to do, did I or did I not do those things? So I understand the actions. The G is for gratitude. Now, did I start my day with gratitude? Absolutely. And gratitude is the door to faith. If you're grateful for what you've already got, it's easier to believe that tomorrow might be an improvement. If you can't think of the positive things in your past, how are you going to believe they're going to be positive things in your future? So you have to find that. You have to deal with gratitude. The I in magic is for intention. What is what are my goals? Am I clear on what my goals are? Yes, I want a movie. It's like that was absolutely clear to me that a feature version of The Keeper is what I want. No compromises. I will either get that or pretty much die trying. If this is, I'm burning my boats. This is what I want from life. And you got, having made that declaration, your guys are going to be able to see, did Steve get it or not? Does this stuff work or doesn't it? I can't determine that ahead of time, but you'll be able to see in the results. And the result, and nothing but the results will make any difference here. So I'm willing to take that risk. Yes, I'm wearing this shirt. I never question my wife's choices. I'm one of them. So it's um, so the C in magic is child elder balance. That the child's passion, energy, and hope and dreams have to balance with the elder part of you, the part of you that you will be on your deathbed when life is over. You've only got another dozen breaths. You're looking back over life and all of the BS is gone. I can promise you. You have clarity that is unbelievable. I can promise you because I've been there. All right? So is this in alignment with my integrity, with my dreams, with what will ultimately be of importance to me? And the only thing that will be ultimately important to me is, did I live a virtuous life according to my standards, according to the best standards that I could find? All of those things were true. If those things are true, if I've got magic set up in that way, then all I have to do is show up at that meeting and be myself. Show up at that meeting and be myself. Who is the guy who can do this? He is creative. He's fun. He laughs. He is open and honest. He is easy to work with. He's flexible, and he radiates that sense of, if you work with me, you're going to have fun doing it. We're going to have a great time doing this, and we're going to do something that is meaningful, and it's also going to make money. If I can do that, if I can be that guy, then no matter what they say on the other end, I have done the best I could do. And what Stoicism says is to separate who you are from what the world is. And you take care of who you are. You take care of what you can do, and the world will take care of itself. So I applied these tools to that context. And what I can say, I'll tell you in a minute. The other was the BAFTA situation. What am I supposed to feel about that? And I ran it through the same thing. Who are my role models for this? And my role models for dealing with this situation would be, it starts with Larry Niven and Steve Muhammad. They are my closest role models. But that third person, who could deal with this situation, who could say something in this situation that would be honest and clear but compassionate? And I thought Barack Obama. That The first time I heard him speak, I thought to myself, this guy thinks the way I do, only he's smarter. That's that's exactly what went through my mind. Okay? So I had my models, my actions. Well, I post on Facebook, and I know that I have attracted attention to the point that people will ask me what my take on different kinds of current events are. So I need to be prepared. I need to express something that will be useful to people, because there are a lot of people who are scared and hurting right now. And I have a responsibility. There is one sense in which all of humanity is my tribe. And there's another sense in which specifically black people are a subset of that, that I am willing to take special care of. I'm willing to care about them more, because it's just appropriate. If everybody takes care of their own house and loves their neighbors too, the world will be a perfectly fine place. So I'm willing to say that. That is not out of alignment with my values, but it is also an encouragement to be strong and clear. So the actions define themselves. I will have to speak. I will need to write. I will need to balance myself every day. So my morning rituals and my evening rituals have to include, did I do the things that balance me? That what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of spinning off into anger. Anger is fear. Allow me to deal with the fear. Okay? If I deal with the fear, the anger will dissipate. Gratitude. One of the ways of dealing with the fear is to have faith, right? So if I feel gratitude, then it builds faith, which then allows me to step away from the anger because the fear diminishes. The intention is to live my life in accordance with both the child I was and the man I'm going to be on my deathbed. Very simple. The child elder balance then controls my goal. Okay. I have to be in alignment with both those things. So looking at magic and then asking myself, everything I say must be in alignment with the three gates. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Everything. So what do I say if those are the standards? And I will tell you what it is that I decided on. I wrote the following. This is perhaps my final full statement on the Baptist situation. Quote, I can forgive the man with Tourette's. He is ill. His body and mind betrayed him, and I do not hold him responsible for what his condition compelled. If we can admit he is ill, that the problem is not limited to speech during the event. But the organizers, they had a choice. They had the power and the responsibility to bleep, to cut, to protect. They chose not to. And I suspect they made that choice because controversy sells. If that is true, then they used a man's disability. They used a word that carries 400 years of violence. They used black people in that room and watching at home as fuel for publicity. That is not illness. That is a choice. And choices have consequences. I will forgive the man who could not control himself before, after, during, or after the event. But I will not pretend that those who could control themselves and didn't are innocents. My job is to protect the children of my tribe. And part of that protection is seeing clearly who has power, who has responsibility, and who uses it with compassion. That was a statement that I created, and that I'm willing to stand by. The three gates, the magic formula, my commitment to both truth and compassion, my willingness to stand between the children of the world and harm. Is that not what we're looking at with Epstein Island? Aren't we looking at people who are protecting adults at the cost of children? I'm not willing to lie and say that I am not offended. And I'm not willing to not do what I have prepared for my entire life, which is to take a stand to protect my children. If my son had been 10 years old, 12 years old, and had seen that broadcast, I would be more than angry. We'll just leave it at that. I would not be the kind of person that certain people would be safe to tell me to be compassionate to the speaker about if I feel like they are not taking my children into account. I would not be. I would not. I don't want to meet that guy. So in order to keep from meeting that guy, I have to be prepared to defend myself. Now somebody said that the entire they've said the entire business of Hollywood is to destroy the innocence of children. That's said by someone who doesn't know Hollywood. Hollywood is a reification of millions of individual people, most of whom are just as good. Actually, the average person in Hollywood is just as good as the average person anywhere else. Just as smart, just as good. And the people who are rising towards the top, they don't suffer any more than people rising to the top in other businesses. So if you look at the mirror and say that that's your business, to destroy the innocence of children, okay. But otherwise, you're pissing downhill on people that you don't know who how hard people work to try to do something that is of value, and how much resistance they run into from people who are only bean counters. It's it's a miracle that anything good gets made. It just is. So now I will tell you what happened in the meeting. What had happened in the meeting is that the person involved saw our movie, loved it, and wants to work with us. That doesn't mean that they will. That doesn't mean that this is going to happen. It means we can take another step forward together. They're going to look at the script. They're going to try to see, can they see how the money can be raised? And sub conversations about how much money do you think it would cost to do this? How would you do this? How would you do this? Those things came up. There was also question of why are we doing this? Are we doing this for the business or for the art? And the truth is that it's both. But if I was a billionaire, I'd still want to make movies. That that my core drive to do it is that self-expression core, that sense of wanting to communicate to an audience that can hear my words, that I want to create from a healed place, from a place of power, statements about what the world is from my position, with the notion that there are people who, if I'm sufficiently honest, and you become honest by being specific, not by trying to be universal, but by being honest about what you see. But you also, uh, okay, I'm just plugging in this thing. I had to take care of that. The computer is telling me that I'm not taking care of my business. Okay, now I'm taking care of my business. It's so what we have is the greatest. This is the moment we have been. My love with Tananarive, the work that I've done, and who we are as individuals are ready to step up and say, yes, we can do this. If you give us the money and the resources, we will not disappoint you. You can tell the internet connection here is unstable a little bit today. And hopefully we will. Okay, that's good. All right. There is that problem. Hmm. The internet connection is unstable. Okay, hopefully this will. Okay.
Well, then, who wants to come off of mute and share how they're doing? How many points did you get this week? And or what else are you working on? Yeah, Mo.
Hey, this is not a hail Trump thing when I raise my hand. Um, with that, so I wanted to share something with everyone who know my story a bit and working with CJ and everything else. So I have actually been reintroduced, and my story is on embargo. It's not a takedown story like the government or what have you, but I never worked so hard to make 25 cents a word and earn $157.75. And I think that's important. You keep grinding, just like Steve had said, but it's not only my reintroduction back into journalism, not just centered into Black urban journalism, but because of my degree, working with Israel and everything else, and the people that I know. International outlets are looking at me, and this is nonfiction. This is straight journalism, and it's
Okay,
made me
Maurice.
really focus.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry,
Mo, I'm
Steve. I
back.
just saw you pop in. I'm gone. I'm
No,
gone.
it's okay. It's okay. So that is my thing. That I've described the exact same process applied to two completely different things. One a negative circumstance, one a positive circumstance. But it's the same thing, if you can see that my task is to be me, no matter what the world does. All I can control is who I am. It's all any of us can ever control. So, having said all of those things, I now open this up for questions about anything that I have said or about what's going on in your own lives. But if you're going to talk about what's going on in your own lives, one of the first things I'm going to ask you is, how are you doing with your morning ritual? I've gotten a 7 or 8 every day. As I do my stuff at night, I do my stuff in the morning, and that's how I set myself up to be able to cope with life, to be able to be sure that I could be the best I could be. How are you guys? What's going on? How can we help? So this is your time now. Who's going to raise their hands about what's going on, or to ask any questions you want about anything that I've said? And once again, volunteer or you will be voluntold. Who's got something? Nobody. Okay. Stephen,
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to go through how I apply the magic, and I don't apply it the way it's written. I make it a circle, and I start with G, but and I'm running about 8 to 9 a day this week.
great.
But as I wake up, I first see and focus on the things that I'm grateful for in the foreground. I hunt the good. I can see everything else, all the rest of it's around there, but I have to look past what I'm grateful for before I can see anything else, just like how my Zoom is focused on me and not the background.
Right.
Um,
So that's great.
look, looking specifically at mind and how I create wealth uh, on your three portions. I see the tasks and goals that I get to do and not just the things that I've got to do.
Right.
I get to enjoy the chaos of volatility and surfing it instead of it letting it roll me on the reef or the seafloor. Next, I go to C. I understand my core values and my child self and apply that to what I'm doing with my mind to be effective at analyzing the market and efficient with my time in doing so and getting better every day. And for I, my intent is alignment with my core values from my long term goal backwards to each of the supporting short term goals and the steps to get me there. I invest to help myself and to help others, and never to take advantage or cause suffering of others while I do that. So, systematically, both for this and my map, I start the day with study, compare how I think to what I know, to what I think I know, to what I've learned, and then determine, do I know something new now? And then analyze the market and my specific portions of that, and then take action, either by doing something or choosing to do nothing to test out those hypotheses and analysis. In order to get there, I had to take a model for success, and I've translated that into a personal map that I'm both following and modifying as my hypotheses come true or don't. And next is A, as a part of that, my daily actions and habits. I'm always focused on making sure they lead toward those goals, or at least not away from them. And that leads me back around to my circle of G, to getting to be grateful and start the cycle over again. And that's how I apply magic to what I do
That was
every day.
Stephen. That's almost perfect. I mean, seriously. I love what you're saying there. And I don't have any corrections for you that I might have in a few weeks. But right now, what I really want to do is acknowledge that that's a hell of a lot of good work. That's a hell of a lot of good work. Good for you,
Well, thank you.
and just nothing but respect for you. That's great. This is what I want from you guys is to actually apply it to your life. This is yes, absolutely. Nothing but respect. Thank you. Is there any specific way I can help you, or can we move on to the next person?
Oh, please move on. I just wanted to
Please.
share a little bit
I
and
appreciate it
give
very
people
much. And once
perspective.
again, solid work. Solid work. Jade, you're muted, sweetheart.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Uh, I wanted to report back because I had the question about getting stuck, and you had the recommendation to do the outline.
Yes.
And I did the outline and it worked. So this was kind of like a moment. I listened, and it's not that I didn't want it to work, but it was like, crap, this worked because I've been a pantser for so long and I love pantsing. But and the justification I've always had for it was this is the only area of my life where I get to fly. Like, let me just fly. But now, and maybe it's being laid off that has just given me a new lease and mental freedom. It's kind of like I don't need the pantsing to like feel like I can frolic and run and be
Now, here,
happy.
sweetheart, you do not have to give up pantsing. That what you're doing is what a pilot does before they take off. They go through a checklist of everything that they need to do to be sure the plane is safe. Then they can just fly. Okay, they know the maps are accurate. They know the engine is working. They know that everything is together. Okay, it's all together. I can now just enjoy the process. So if you, the ideal situation is that you're just driving down the road with the wind in your hair and a picnic lunch in the back seat and your sweetie by your side and you're just enjoying a wonderful day and you'll have a wonderful picnic. But if the car breaks down, you need to be able to open the hood, take the toolbox out of the trunk, and fix the engine. Okay? The outline, if you find the thing that matters is that you get the work done, and you might say, and have fun in the process. Okay? If that's not happening, then you check and you see what's going on. You look at, to the story. You look at your own process for how you write, how you create. What's this, the last time you were writing and you had a good time doing it, what was different about that situation? Because there will be clues. Okay. So all you're doing is you're bringing up to conscious competence processes that most people think are who they are. They're not thinking I was in a different process then. They're thinking who I am now doesn't work. There's something wrong with me. Rather than it's like if the cookies come out bad, you look at the recipe. Oh, I changed this ingredient. I changed that ingredient. I cooked it at a different temperature. Once you find the recipe that works, you can start experimenting with other recipes. But you always remember you've got a recipe that works. I've got a recipe for sugarless ice cream that works. I'm going to experiment to see other recipes. But if it doesn't work, I will default back to what I know works and then move out from there. So what you're doing is simply starting to observe what the process is rather than just living in the process. You know, it's, and once again, this is a perfect result. So you've got that in your back pocket. If you can write and you produce results that you love without writing an outline, fine, do it. That's fine. What matters is that you get the work done and have fun in the process.
Agree. I've been stalled at like 60,000 words for a while, just kind of like, what's not working? And then when I was able to step back and look at just the mechanics and the flow of the journey, I could go, that's why that scene's been bothering me. Okay. And that's why
Yes.
that thing right
Or you
there.
might look at it this way. The writer is the child part of you. The
Mhm.
adult part of you is the editor.
Yes.
Okay. So there are times when the child can just be told, just get in there and write. You're nut. Just go have fun. Here's a box of crayons, here's some paper, have fun. But if it isn't working on, you have to step into your mommy space and say, oh, okay, well, let's do these disciplines so that you can get back to having fun. And
Yes.
the child will resist this because the child just wants to have fun. What the child doesn't understand is that some approaches to having fun will send you down a blind alley and into a blank wall.
Hmm.
Okay. So you as mommy need to protect the playground of baby. So being able to switch back and forth is an act of power, an act of authority. You
Yeah.
just gave
I,
yourself permission to have a good time. Bless you. This is the work.
yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Is there anything else we can do for you today?
Oh, the other thing is just a comment, and I think it's some of the fun you're talking about, trying to outline another project and just kind of thinking about the horrors and kind of incrementally amping that up. And I think one of the things that has helped me a lot is in my family, there's lore about ghost. I mean, not happily. They don't like talking about it because they're very religious. But there's a story about a ghost, and an uncle saw it all the time, and no one believed him, and then my grandfather, the pastor, saw it, and then they all moved. So hearing some of the stories I could get out of my aunt, like still was like uncomfortable telling it. I was able to kind of use some of the creeping fear and layer it in, and I'm honestly kind of freaked out and
Good.
uneasy in my own apartment, and that is like fun in a weird way. So
Yes, it is.
yeah,
Tananarive, I wish Tananarive was here, but she would tell you that she experiences the exact same thing. That she is not good with being surprised. If I come up from behind her without any intent and I say something, she would, ah! because she's got her fear close to the surface.
Hmm.
It's one of the reasons why she's brilliant.
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations to you, sweetheart, and keep us posted, okay? I
Thank
want to
you.
keep an eye on your journey.
Okay.
Okay, Mo.
Hey, come here, son. See,
Hey, hey everybody, it's me, CJ, and hello, Fire Dance. I just want to say that thank you for everything you've done, and I hope you all are doing well.
Thank you very much. We are doing well, and we are glad to be of resource to you. And we are honored to be of resource to you, and we will try to live up to that responsibility.
Thank you.
You matter. We see you. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
all right. Can I just say,
Remember that. Go ahead.
what? Go ahead, son. You can go back take your power nap. He's eating. We'll take a power nap. Um, what I wanted to say about what Jade was just speaking about, tradition and culture, is very interesting because, and the storyline I've told you about. I'm not going to explain it on here,
Please don't.
but I did go to. I found fraternity brother who's actually a homicide detective, and we're working. He's telling me what we're right, what is wrong, and working through some of the things I'm thinking about.
Good.
That's what I wanted to say.
Good. 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 The idea there is something in what you're doing that could actually work for you. And I kind of like the idea of you creating a recurring character in a roughly
Hmm.
recurring situation. In other words, a formula that we
Yes.
could then work on with you to get right, like get the recipe right for that. It's like, you know, Arthur Conan Doyle could always go back and write another Sherlock Holmes story and it worked. But then he
Hmm.
got tired of Holmes, so he would go off and he'd write The Lost World and he'd write this and he'd write that and he'd, embarrass himself believing in fairies and so forth. Um, but anytime he ran out of money, he'd go back and write another Sherlock Holmes story, which is why he killed Holmes off. He was on one level interested in killing Holmes off, but he very clearly left himself a back door with Reichenbach Falls. So, it's
Mm.
not that we found
I'm
Holmes's
listening to
body.
that now.
It's that, Watson says, oh, Holmes must have died. But we all know that Watson is no detective. So he left himself a back door. I want you, because this situation, there's some things in what you're talking about here that said, yeah, if you did that right, you could sell that. If you did that right, you could sell that. Okay. So let's work on you creating a series of stories that might enable you to start building a reputation that help you get that right. So don't keep trying to do completely different things. Just take this character or this situation into a new adventure. And so then holding that steady, we can then look at all this other stuff and get you there. Okay. I've
I
noticed
understand.
that one of the things you have to protect yourself from is getting scattered
Hmm.
and talking instead of doing. Okay. So you're not hitting the right mark and you're not focusing on one incorrect target. It's like you do a lot of different things so you don't notice what's working and what isn't working. Once you focus down, you'll start noticing what's working and isn't doing working, and then you just do more of that. The idea is the Pareto principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Once you identify which 20% work, then just do more of that. And then you start focusing on the 20% of the 20%. And then you could move into a very rarefied territory by doing the 20% of the 20% of the 20%. Damn few people ever get to that point. We can get you near there depending on whether or not you'll listen. I'm curious as to whether or not you're going to listen. It's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. As you know, I'm a Morehouse man. You can tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him anything. It's one of the funny things they say, and I'm a Sigma too. But I really listening to you, understanding, and even if you're Christian, it says, lean not on thine own understanding in Scripture,
Well,
and
you can
even
lean this.
with
Let me
the
tell you what
hero's
you can
journey.
lean
I'm
on
sorry.
with me. You can depend on me to tell you the truth as far as I can see it. But that is with the warning that I can't be sure that what I say is correct. All I can be sure of is I'm in being in integrity when I say it. That's all I can promise. So look at my results. Know I'm doing my best to tell the truth, but never put your common sense, never take your common sense off the table. Never.
One last thing I really need to ask real
Yeah.
quick question. Um, when you were hitting your stride, younger or what have you, didn't arrange anything, and you were in a foreign country, did you ever meet a friend that you didn't expect to meet in a foreign country? Just walk into them. Because that's one of my dreams, to meet my friends and stuff in a foreign country that I was like,
Uh,
whoa, what are you doing here?
I mean, I've met wonderful people. They didn't become long-term friends, but had we didn't have enough life interests in common. When I was in Tanzania, I met some people that I could have become friends with. One who that relationship lasted back into the States, but we don't correspond. But he was very open to me. He was very useful. We had some great intellectual conversations. I've met people everywhere I've gone. In the
Well, I
Philippines, I
want to
met.
thank you, Steve, and Fire Dance, and I ask all of Fire Dance, would you know my name if you saw me in heaven?
There you go.
Because thank you.
Take care of yourself. All right. So I'm going to ask who else has their hands up, or else I'm going to embarrass somebody. Maggie. Oh, just real quick, Maggie, and then you, Robin. I see your hand. Uh, Sweetheart, haven't
Hi.
seen you for a long time. You wanted to wish me happy birthday. My
I
birthday is Sunday.
do. I want to say happy birthday to you. I would sing it to you, but that's not a good idea on Zoom.
I
But
understand.
but happy birthday. It sounds like you got a really, really excellent birthday present a little early. At least it sounds, just hearing that about this meeting you're talking about what's going on, it
Look,
sounds like
here
there's
it
something
is
good
really good
happening.
because it doesn't matter. In one sense, it doesn't matter what happens next.
Yeah.
What matters is that I dealt with the situation to the best of my ability. That's all any of us can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So I got to see myself do that, and that makes a difference to me. I can now relax and just keep doing the things I was
Mhm.
doing, keep getting better at the things I was doing, and let the universe be what it is. Okay?
Yeah.
Great
Happy
to see you,
birthday,
sweetheart, and I
sweetie.
will see you at NorwestCon, right?
Yes, if you're there, I'll be there.
Okay, I'm planning to be there. All right, so Robin,
Hi all. I've had an average of 7 on most days, but I find
great.
I'm either I do great when I'm by myself, and I get tens on those days. But my kids live 2,000 miles away, and they've been staying with us for a couple of weeks. And I find when there's people around, I'll go like 3 days and be like, "Oh man, what am I doing here? I haven't done any of this." And like I'll start. I've been trying to be really good about first thing when I wake up in bed going through this, but I find I just sort of doze off and I'll get up and I'm like, what did I think about before I got up? So I get up first and do a sun salutation and get myself, all right, I'm awake. Now I can remember what it is I'm doing here.
That
But then
works.
I just get sort of like sucked into the life of the house. And
Look, that is exactly what happens. That you're getting sucked into the life of your house, which is better than people getting sucked into the external world. In other words, people who get up, they don't center themselves, they don't ask. If you don't ask, who am I? And have an answer to it, your family will tell you who you are. And it happens that you're probably okay with that because you love them and you love being a dad. So if they remind you that you're a dad, then you're being a dad. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the outside world will give you other labels. And unless those labels are in alignment with what you believe leads to a virtuous life, you need to define yourself before you get out of bed. So it's like I get up, it's like the first thing, I'm alive. Well, what is it that's alive? It's a human being named Steve. Oh, and who is Steve? He's a father, he's a this, he's a martial artist, he's a writer, he's a teacher. So I reconstitute my being every day. And I give gratitude for each thing I am. So it's like every time I see my son, I love him because I love being a dad, and I couldn't be a dad unless he was my son. And Nikki was my daughter. I love being Tananari's husband. So I give thanks for her because I couldn't be that without her. See how that works? That I have these challenges, These challenges exist because I have certain goals of being a particular kind of person, doing certain kinds of things. So I have to give thanks to my challenges. When you can start being grateful for the shit, you have mastered your life. When you can turn shit into fertilizer for your rose garden, you have mastered something that most people never even dream of. You have decided that whatever obstacles life gives you, it's like my brother-in-law, my first wife's husband, uh, 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 would say, Patrick, he would say, when he had a problem, he would say, "Thank you, God, for giving me another opportunity to find out who I am." And when you have that attitude, life can't beat you. It can only teach you. Good for you, Robin. Is there a question you had or something I can do to serve you?
One question: when I'm writing out my goals in the morning, sometimes I'll think, okay, what's the most important thing? I just like mind, body, spirit. And I'll think of the thing that's the most important. And I'm like, well, I'm absolutely committed that that's going to happen. Why even write it down? And so I'll write down something that's like an aspiration. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, well, I did this most important thing, but I didn't do this one that was aspirational. And I'm like, well, I didn't keep my word to myself. Should I have just written down the most important thing that I know I'm going to do?
So write down the most important things every day. I would suggest, a refinement would be the three most important things, one in each of the
Mhm.
major arenas, and you're going to be done by one. Those are the things you're going to do by 1 o'clock. Okay. So if you do that, then you win for the day. You've totally won. If you don't end up doing a couple of other things, it's like, so none of us ever have a perfect day, but we stop counting at 10. You get 10 out of 10, and that is a step towards perfection. To it is the verb. It is I am involved in the act of perfecting myself, not in being in a state of being perfect. No, but I am in the act of perfecting. There's a big difference between those two. One is humanly achievable. We can do that every day just by saying, what can I do to get in better contact with my body by 1%? Is it pushing hard, or today it's going to be, no, I'm going to go very lightly. I'm going to work on the neurological aspect of what it is that I'm doing. I'm going to look for form and breathing and focus. I'm not going to try to push my skeletal muscles. I'm going to do it correctly because I really pushed my skeletal muscles 2 days ago. Okay, I really pushed them. I felt it yesterday. I felt it last night. So today, I'm doing an A-B split. Yoga on A days, warrior walk on B days. So I will do the warrior walk today, but I will do it lightly because there's an aspect of fitness that is teaching. In terms of my writing, I will further that. In terms of my heart, what am I going to do to connect to my son, my wife, my daughter? Get to play virtual mini golf with my daughter and one of my best friends tomorrow morning. It's going to be great. Uh, it's all good in that sense. Is it perfect? No, but I'm doing the best I can, and I know that to be the fact. Does that answer your question?
Yes. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, great. And let's see, remove the spotlight. And I'm going to see somebody else who's lurking. Is Rusty Cundiff? Is Rusty willing to come on camera?
Rusty is not in a place where he should be on camera.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. How you doing, buddy? And is there, this is the first time you've been to this. You're going to be at Lifewriting Professional tomorrow. And
Yep.
I just wanted to know, is there any clarity that I can offer you? And for those who are wondering, yeah, it's that Rusty. Anyway.
Hey, I'm sorry I got in late, and I was just curious, Steve, to see, I knew that you imparted words of wisdom. I've heard you give some to me before, and I was curious to see kind of what this session was. So no, I don't have anything specific that I'd like to ask. I would say that just hearing some of your stories earlier, and even some of what some of your other participants were talking about, is inspirational and helpful in that way.
Well, let
So,
me ask you a question.
yeah, sure.
Rusty is a very accomplished gentleman. I am honored that he is here. So, in terms of your successes in life, when you look at me talking about these things, do these things remind you of processes that you went through in order to achieve the successes you've already had?
It was interesting. I came in, I think I logged in just as you were talking about the idea of offering something in a meeting. You were giving the a comparison of being a vacuum salesman, I think is what it was. And it was interesting because I
You
think
have to appeal to the person. You don't
yes,
ask them to do you a favor. You show them how they will be benefited by doing business with you.
absolutely. And that is one of the things that, I went through I've been in the business for a long time. And there was a point where, I just had some things happen. I got kind of jaded. I got kind of fed up with the business in certain ways. And, I would go into meetings with kind of a chip on my shoulder and just kind of being fed up. And I had to learn to reprogram myself because I realized that when you are trying to get a job, what you're really trying to do is, the job is going to benefit you, but you've got to show what your benefit is going to be to the employer, to the person. And then if you're coming in with a bit of anger, a bit of I'm so sick of this, and I've done X, Y, and Z, and I don't know why you don't see that I'm good for this job or this position. It kind of comes through, and nobody really wants to deal with that. They
That's
want
right.
someone that is going to offer them things that allow them to have a good day. And so if you come in just wanting them to give you a good day, that's something that has nothing to do with writing, but it, I wouldn't say it was revelatory. It was something that I kind of knew in my soul, but it was something that I had to work through and really, I just, for me, I would just take a lot of long walks at night and let all
Rusty,
the bad energy go.
this is how you cut to the chase. When you find that you're dealing with anger, ask yourself what the fear is underneath it. The fear being that these people are not going to see your humanity. So, and therefore you will not be able to reach your dreams, not be able to support your family in the way you want to, not be able to actualize yourself. That fear is real. So you
Yeah.
acknowledge that there are real reasons for that. You're not hallucinating. It's real. Now, given that that's the world, what do we do? How shall we deal with this? And it is my job to give you the most accurate reportage I can. And if there's something valuable in that, then great, we move forward together. So I acknowledge everything you're saying, and you're one of the people who, I am hoping that we're going to get to know each other a lot better, because you gave me great joy in life. So it is my honor to contribute to yours.
That is at some point I will let you know some of the victories, and what you just said to me is one that I've had from some of the work that I've put out there. And
Fantastic.
That's why I do it more than getting paid. So
we're gonna sit down face to face and have a conversation. You take care, buddy.
All right, take care.
Okay. And Che, who raises his hand. Oh my God, will wonders never cease?
Yeah. I figured we had to do something.
Yeah.
Um,
The
well,
Avalanche Jacket says, Che.
I was gonna, yeah, before this happened, I was gonna say something about like I'm having a hard time, kind of like figuring out where to pull gratitude from sometimes. But then you said that thing about being grateful for challenges, and so
If you have
that
the right attitude, you can be grateful for challenges. Because
yes,
if that's real, that's powerful. But certainly you're grateful for the people who protected you when you could not protect yourself.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
that's a
so
good one too.
so you should have, that thinking through this, if you have love, if you have health, if you have hope, you should have gratitude. So this is why you scan yourself in the morning and kind of, when I was in the hospital, for all practical purposes, paralyzed, I was grateful that I could breathe. That was where I started with The obstacles here are obvious. The problems here are obvious. The way through is to take the right actions. I can't do that unless I have faith that they will have an effect. How do I generate faith? Gratitude. So I just went through my checklist. It's like this is how I get myself to the place where the magic can happen. Okay. Then it's just be the best person you can be every day. Try to grow a little bit, and you start watching things start aligning for you. So if you were grateful for nothing more than the people who would cheer for you, someone who would tell you honestly for finding this place, whatever amount of value that we provide you here, it's critical that you have your go-tos that you can be grateful for because the world pays you in direct proportion to the amount of stress you can take without breaking. That's how you get the rewards. When you prove to the world you can take more stress than the guy, the quarterback who can stay totally calm as two 300-pound guys are barreling towards him to break him. Can he stay calm enough to throw that ball? That's why they get the money because they can stay calm enough rather than doing what I would do, which is scream and run like a bitch. It's like, it really. Is there anything specifically we can do to help you today?
Um, Honestly, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I got a little knocked off my thing. I know how to get back on my thing, but this was really helpful just in terms of going back to the most basic things that I can be grateful for to regenerate my faith in
Great.
my capacity to because hope can sometimes be a little thin,
That's right.
especially
That's right. And the way to hope is what?
is to have faith,
How do you
and
get faith?
by being grateful.
Thank you. So you need to tattoo that on the inside of your eyelids and see
Yeah.
that first thing in the morning when you wake up. Before you even open your eyelids, ask who you are and be grateful that you know. Just be grateful. Know who you are before the world tells you who you are.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that on the last part and was like, ooh, another good one.
Because especially if you feel that there are people who do not love you, who have power in your life, they're dying to tell you who you are. They're
Yeah.
dying to tell you who you are. So you must have the place inside you that says, no, this is who I am. And this is who I'm going to be until the moment I die.
Mm.
Because I have to die anyway. 100%. I'm going to die. So I will die being who I am, not what you want me to be. I am not a tool for your ego. Okay? All right. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for raising your hand. You're
Thank
always
you.
interesting. Always interesting.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. So this is great. I'm enjoying this. Again, I'm sorry that Tananarive isn't here. Let's see. Avalon Jacka. I know I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow at Life Writing Professional. Is there anything
Will.
that I can offer for you today?
Um, I would just like to report back on the building of my habits and working these steps into my morning routine. Because for me, I have a lot of like physical issues that I've had through since I was like 15, and I'm undiagnosed, but I definitely have ADHD. Like if you saw my work process, you would understand. But for me, sometimes building habits when there's a lot of steps can take a long time. So I just wanted to throw it out there to other individuals who maybe feel like it's a lot to take on at one time, that you can take it one bite at a time. You don't have to eat the whole elephant. I think the best place to start is that just initial, like in bed, having thinking through those three goals. Um, and just starting your day that way. And then I did that for a couple weeks, and then I worked in the sun salutation not immediately afterwards, but like I take my shower, walk my dog, everything, and then before I get started on my work day, I turn the computer on, get it running, and then go into the sun salutation. And I have to say that it has really changed how I focus and run through the day. I feel like I start the day at a point where it's not chaotic. Like the last 2.5 months, everything that I've been doing for work has just increased in volume, and I am not feeling stressed out about it. I feel like I can conquer the day with that initial just like grounding myself and getting ready for the day and without having to really change anything else about my routine. It's, an additional 5 minutes
Let
in
me
the
ask you a
day.
question.
Great. Yes.
Do you, when did you start or have you started including gratitude in your morning ritual?
That was the first thing.
That's what I
I
thought.
started with those. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So gratitude is even before thinking about the three goals.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's so integrated that you didn't even think of it because
Yeah.
you're living in a state of gratitude. You strike me as someone who has, like the rest of us, challenges, but you've decided that you're that bitch. You're decided that you can do this, that you're going to live a life of joy and contribution. And that's what I get from you, sweetheart. So you're doing great.
Thanks.
You're
Yeah. And
actually, you're actually doing great.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to throw that out to people who maybe are feeling like it's a lot of things to take on at once. You can modify. I think modifying with the intention of starting your day, whether it's when you actually get into your work or because I know that some people have obligations with other family members or things like that where sometimes they feel like they can't put themselves first, just what I've heard in recent weeks here. And I want them to know that they can make those modifications because it is worth it. I feel that difference. And if you need those modifications in order to get it done, you should absolutely do it.
Sweetheart, one of the most important things to remember if you care about other people is that if you need to get firewood for them every day, you need to spend some time sharpening your axe.
Hmm.
Are the axe. That the more people depend on you, the more critical it is that you take time so that you're not chopping with a dull axe. You're not just, that you have some aliveness because otherwise your resentment and your fatigue and your fear will start to poison the relationships with the very people you're trying to support. And what I want is my family to know that it is an honor to be Jason's father. It is an honor to be Tananari's husband. When I get into my weak places, it's because I haven't taken care of myself. And I want to be sure that I never dump my fear into their lives, ever. My stuff is for me to handle, and I will handle it because all I have to do is to remember I chose this life. I chose all of it. And to the degree that I own that, then when the stuff happens, I can say, bring it. I chose you. I may get knocked down. I may get knocked out. I may get beat, but I will never beat myself. That's the only difference. That I will lose, inevitably. Everyone loses. But I will not beat myself. And you, my dear, I consider to be an ally because we're walking the path together. This is not, I just noticed this path. I didn't create it. Others created it. Others have been walking it a lot longer than me. But I will report back what the territory looks like.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care, sweetheart.
Steven.
All right. So, is there anybody else who needs anything from me today, who wants to report in or wants to raise their hand? Really quick check in with Jaime, who's who is moving into a leadership
Hi
position.
there.
In
So, I've been doing, I think, pretty well this last week. It's been very challenging. It was the home stretch for my friend who was dying, and it was a very challenging weekend. She passed on Wednesday evening. I'm on my way to her house right now to talk with her partner for a couple of hours. Um, but all of these techniques are helping me show up and be my best in a challenging situation. So this business of gratitude for challenges is right where the rubber meets the road in my life today.
All of our sympathy to you, and I'm glad you're in a center place that you can give love to this grieving lady. You know, that this is what we need, and we need community. And, you know, I love the fact I cannot serve your community the way you could serve it. But if I serve you, I'm serving
It,
your community.
it is a mind blower to me. It was never part of my coming out process, but the actual congregation has taken their vote and voted that they want me to be their next pastor. So
Oh,
now
wow.
we're actually planning the ordination service, and yeah.
Well, then I need you to know, and I want everybody to hear that if there's anything I can do for you, you need do nothing more than reach out and say, Steve, I'd like a few words, because you are serving a community. See, what we're looking for here is to teach teachers.
I sure appreciate you all so much, and say a prayer for me because Monday is the burial service, and that's going to be my first sort of official act.
You bet we will. And if you need to talk, I'm around. Mo, if you have something
Thanks.
brief, something quick,
Yes,
let's hear
yes,
it.
I do.
What's up?
Just listening to Jamie and everything else, the old, the gospel song, there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. And I know it's the spirit of the Lord. There's a sweet expression on each face. And I know it's the spirit of the Lord. And let's just listening to Jamie and listening to gratitude. That's what I've been feeling. I'm getting ready to go through some stuff, but my refrigerator is packed. I have no excuses to take care of myself. Putting my oxygen mask on now. That's
There
it.
you go. All right. Bill Cademy, I just saw your name pop up. Is there anything we can do for you before we quit? We got like another 120 seconds. Okay, I don't hear you. I don't hear you. You're muted. Okay. Well, if you know if you put something into if there's something I can do to serve you, be sure to send me a direct message, and I'd be happy to. Okay. Okay, because we cannot hear you. We're having technical difficulties there. Thank you for putting up with the technical difficulties earlier in the broadcast. I wanted to be respectful of Jason's sleep time, so I did it downstairs and things got unstable. But I think that we covered some good stuff today. So I would like everybody to unmute yourselves and say goodbye to everybody because this is a family and we take care of each other.
Hey,
Namaste, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye,
oos.
everybody.
All right. Take care. Have a wonderful week and may the road rise to meet you. Take care.